Hello, welcome to 3D Drawing for Model Railway. In today's episode I'm going to look at doing a little project for myself, but I have been asked about how to produce these by somebody watching one of the videos. Essentially what I'm going to be looking at is as a UK signal post. The one that I require is specifically for my model of Tunbridge West Yard. It's a 3-aspect post with a 4-route indicator on the top. Majority of these use a similar sort of diagram, so this may not be exactly the right size for the one that we're looking at, but it's going to be close enough for the model that I'm looking for. Now I've already gone ahead and added in the canvases. These canvases I was supplied by a friend, but I do believe they're available on the internet somewhere. You can search for them. But to be able to produce this model yourself, you're not going to need to have these canvases. You can just follow along with the video because all the dimensions I'll be adding in as I go along. So everything will be there that you would need to be able to produce your own signal. Okay, so to get started, the first thing I'm going to draw on the front face is I'm going to draw a base for it to sit on. So create a new sketch in a 2-point rectangle, and I'm going to come along and draw in this area here. So looking to draw a rectangle that will fill this space. So dimensions for that, so it's 3.82, round that up, and the height I'm going for 1.25. Okay, and this will just produce the base for it to sit on. Extrude that, turn it around sideways. Okay, and I'm going to draw this base all the way along underneath where the ladder would come down as well. So I'm coming back 10 millimeters. That's going to be my first initial base. Okay, so to now work out the position of the post, what I'm going to do is create a sketch on the side of this base that we've created. I'm just going to add a point in. I'm going to put that on what is the centre line coming down of this post. And the reason is because it's obviously offset on the base, I don't know exactly whereabouts to put it on that angle, on that plane. But from this plane, it's going to sit in the centre line, so that's easy enough to work out where that centre point is. So I've created that point there. The next thing I'm going to do is create a sketch on the top surface. And I'm going to create a line coming across, like we project on that circle, first of all, and then create that line from there, horizontally across. I'm going to turn that line into a construction line. Okay, the next thing we're going to use is a centre diameter circle. Find the midpoint of the base by just coming to the centre here. You get that little triangle up here. Drag that down so we know it's now centred, and we can draw out the circle. So if we go for 1.6 to start with, let's turn that back from construction to normal. And now, as I say, I've done that as 1.6 to start with. We define that. We will probably come back and change that, but it's just giving us an initial diameter to work from, and then we can work out how big we need it based off of how this looks here. So here you can see it's going to be slightly too wide, which is fine because we can come back, as I say, and go back into that sketch and change it. If we drag this up to the top, I think we're going to be going for 20.7. No, more 8. 20.8. Now, if you were to produce this to be able to be a working signal, I wouldn't 3D print this in Engage because you wouldn't be able to get the wires and stuff down whole down the middle printed. You're better off doing a brass tube, maybe printing the head up. But in 00 it's definitely feasible, but again I'd be looking at brass tubes and stuff. But I'm not overly concerned about having this as a working signal. So as we see, that's way too big diameter wise, so we can go back into the sketch and we can reduce this. Let's maybe come down to 1.4 millimeters. How that looks. It's still a bit big. I could probably do this actually by just drawing a line and working out where it sits, but I'm quite happy to to do this. Just about there. There we go. 1.1 millimeters in diameter, which isn't very big. And obviously it's going to be quite brittle, but I'm going to try it. So it's a risk I'm worth taking because it's going to cost pence to produce this. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is this little base here that the signal head sits on itself. Again, we're creating a sketch. I'm going to use the front plane to draw off of, and just using a rectangle again. I'm going to draw across the diameter, the size of the drawing sketch. And let's go for dimension. Back. Let's have a look. Let's go for 4 millimeters by 0.5 millimeters. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line that will project that rectangle. I'm going to draw a line from the midpoint up. Like that. Turn that into a construction line. And then the midpoint of this bottom line onto that line there. Look about right. Let's measure that. So there's 2 millimeters. So you can see how that's worked. Put the midpoint and things all lined up. And it wants the height defined, which is why it's undefined there. So if we do coincidence that we're going to have to project top of the post on, and coincidence that to that line there, then it'll all be joined up. And then we can extrude that. Take this back round. Okay. So we're going to have to reduce the width of the front here. So I'm going to come back from that front plane 6.3. So that's 6.3 millimeters back from that front plane here, which is the front of the base. But as we can see on the diagram, this I think needs to come back from the front as well, because it's offset slightly. So we just grab the front face, we can extrude that, and come back 1.1 millimeters. And the other way you could do that, if you do go back into this, you could do starting from an offset position, and you could just offset that by however many you wanted to. But I prefer to have them as separate parts so that I know that I can go back to each one and clean it up as I need to. If I make a mistake, I need to make a change at all. Okay, so let's get on to actually doing the signal head itself. To do this, I'm going to start off by creating an offset plane. I'm going to put that offset plane from the front of this landing here, and I'm going to drag that back in line with where the signal starts. So actually I'm going to come back 0.6 because this bit on the front sticks out. It might actually be a little bit more, yeah, no, 0.7 because this bit on the front sticks out slightly. Okay, once we've got that, we can spin back round, create a sketch on that front plane, and we're going to project on the landing so that we know the extremities that we can define our dimensions off of. Okay, so let's get started by drawing the back plate. So I'm going to draw a rectangle. I want it to be slightly smaller than the outside edges, just so that we can get the guard fence around the outside. So I'm going to start by snapping a line to the bottom edge, and I'm going to come across to the other side. Snap. So a rectangle, that's fine. So coming up, and I'm going to come up to we don't want it to go that high because we're only going to have 3 aspect light. So I believe if we look at the picture, this is going to be sort of in the middle of the 4th aspect. So if we come down to the 3rd aspect, like that, if we define the distance between those two for 0.15, I'm just going to drag this line back in, and I'm going to find the distance from that point to that point is the same, 0.15, and then the height, we'll do 6.25. Just to give you an idea, if you were going to go all the way to the top one, you'd be going up by another pretty much 2 millimeters if you were to do a 4 aspect signal. So that will give us our 3 aspect. We can then extrude that, and I'm going to do symmetrical extrusion. I want it to be a little bit thicker than that actually. Let's go 2-sided. Going to go 0.1 forward. I'm going to do 0.3 backwards. It's going to be a little bit thicker than it should be. Actually, let's go 0.4 backwards. So we've got a total of a 0.5 millimeter. And then we can click on OK for that. Okay, the next thing we need is this front plate here. We'll create a sketch on the front surface. Just check that to go all the way down to the bottom. It does. Do a rectangle, and we'll put it that position there. Define the side inwards. So 0.95, and we'll do that on the other side as well. Find the height from the base, 0.4, and the total height is 5.4. And then we're going to extrude that forwards. And we're just going to come forwards by 0.1 millimeters, 0.15 millimeters, being in line with that line there. One thing to know as well is this front panel that comes forward, we look at the photo for the rear of it, it also comes through the back as well. So what we can do is, if we do this extrusion again, edit feature, we do that as a 2-sided one, we'll keep the 0.15 forwards, and we'll just drag this rear one up maybe 1.3 millimeters. Yeah, 1.3 millimeters backwards to give the rear panel. Okay, so we're going to draw the lamps on the front next, and we'll create a sketch on the front face. I'm going to draw a line up the middle here. I'm going to turn this line into a construction line. That's just so we've got the midpoints there. And if we find a circle, snap it to about the midpoint on the lamp, and I think about 1.4 millimeters in diameter looks about right to me. Define the height from the base. I'm going to go from 0. I'm going to go up slightly. Yeah, 0.78. I'm going to come up, and I'm going to extrude that 0.2 millimeters. Let's turn those canvas off so we can see what we're looking at. And then I'm going to fill it off the top edge. I think I'm going to try and change this to variable. So I'm going to snap on the edge. Okay, so come down 0.2 on this first section. 0.6, see what happens there. Okay, so we'll go 0.6 on the intermediate point here, and a 0.7 reduction. That gives us that curved effect on the front of the lamp there. I'll click on OK with that. then we've got 3 of those. So what we can do is do a rectangular pattern, change it to features, select the extrusion and the fillet. Direction will go upwards. Turn that canvas back on. We can drag up to the correct position, down from there. So I'm going 3.4 millimeters up, a quantity of 3 of them, and that evens them all out going upwards there. So the next thing I want to do is add on the hoods that go over the top of them. Now these look like they're just slightly at sort of the midpoint, come over the top. So go into this again, create a sketch on that front face. We've already got this arc projected on there, so we can do an offset from there. And I'm just going to do the smallest of offsets, 0.05, and then I'm going to offset from that again. And let's have a look. What should we go? See if we can get 0.2 in there without going over the sides. Now it might be slightly too big there. But yeah, we're going 0.19. And then we can draw a sketch line from that midpoint out to intersect, and the same the other way, intersect onto there, and that should enable us to then grab that top half here and extrude that outwards as well. And we can come out to the front point, which is, let's go for 2 millimeters there. And the hood curves backwards on the inside here, so I'm going to create a sketch off of the side of the signal, and I'm going to project on that line there, and then I'm going to draw actually a line that comes down and across like that, and then I can fillet that in to create an arc shape. So I'm going to do 0.75, maybe 0.8, finish that sketch. Then I can take this little triangle piece, if I then do extrude, I can drag that across, and that will cut off the front of the fillet we've drawn here, sorry, the front of the lamp shade that we've drawn there, give us that curve effect that we're looking for. Okay, so now we've got that, we can then turn those off so you can see what I'm doing. I can then do the mirror the features, so I'm going to do the hood and that fillet. The direction, again I'm going to go upwards, and we know that it's 3.4 millimeters to have all of those drawn on in the correct position. Okay, so now we've got the basic signal head drawn. I'm going to draw on the side, I'm going to draw the ladder. So if we create a sketch, in fact before we do a sketch we're going to do a offset plane on the side of the lamp there, sorry, side of the platform here. And we're going to bring that offset plane into the position where the ladder is. Now I'm going to be as close as I can get to it. So yeah, coming in 1.2 millimeters there. And then I create a drawing on that face. And then it's just a case of using the line tool to draw. So we can project that one first, so we can snap the things and project these on. And we use the line tool, starting at that bottom corner there, come up, and then, okay, so let's define this. So that's going to be 0.5 just for ease, and you see down the bottom here, Find distance from there to there. Go for 1.1. It's going to change the angle slightly, but that'll work for me. Okay, let's do a line here. Find distance between those two. I'll go for 0.3 just for a bit of strength. Define that position there as well, because otherwise it won't be able to work it out. Just going to put whatever number that is to snap in the correct position for that one. Length 0.8. And we'll draw a line at the base here that's going to come across by 0.3. To do that, it's got an angle. So try that again. Make sure it's still at 180 degrees. And actually looking at that, I might actually be able to get away with a bit more width there. So 0.4. We'll draw a line from there. Up to there. Okay, so now we've got that shape. We can extrude that. I'm going to extrude it outwards. 0.5 is way too big. Let's go for 0.3 millimeters. It's going to be quite fine, but also look thick at the same time. And then what I'm going to do, not offset plane, I'm going to do a mid plane. I'm going to do that between the two faces of the base. And then I can mirror that extrusion across that mid plane. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is put the runs of the ladder on. So I'm going to create a sketch on, I'm going to spin this on the inside surface between two ladders there, ladder edges. And I'm going to create a small circle on line with where that is. Let's go for 0.25. And I'm going to, what I'm going to do to get this right. I'm actually going to draw a line from the midpoint there. I want that to be coming up parallel. So I'm going to you can see it's already constrained. It's parallel to these two lines here. So that'll go all the way up there. And I'm going to coincidence the midpoint onto that line. Okay, to find the height from there down the line, so I want it to be at the same angle. So 1.15. And then extrude that across to the inside face of the other leg of the ladder. Just check that it's on line with that one. Okay, so the next thing is to pattern those. It's the feature direction. I'm going to come up that leg. And I need to work out how many you've got. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 11 of them. If we come up to there, maybe I've got the wrong number here. I'll check in a second. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 13 of them. My math must be rubbish there. And what I'm going to do is going to edit that, change the direction to go up that edge. Yeah, that's better. So 13 of them. Maybe we need 14. Yes, 14 of them. There must have been one hidden behind. Yeah, there's one hidden behind there. Because these are now all in position here. So it's up 19.1, and then there's 14 of them to create all the runs for that ladder. It's nice and simple. Again, these should print, but they'll be very, very delicate, I would imagine. But we'll give it a good shot and hopefully it'll work. Right, the next one we'll do is the safety cage that goes around the top here. So we're going to create an offset plane from the front edge. I'm going to go minus 0.15. Create a sketch on there. We'll use the line tool. Check on this rectangle again, so snap into the thing there. Start at that point there. And it only comes up for my one to the top of the lamp guard here. So I'm going to go up, say 5.5, and I'm going to come across. I'm going to go 4, and then back down. Define distance from the rear there is 0.55. Okay, so looking at my picture, this front one's curved. I'm going to do the back hoop in a minute, and you'll see why. And use a fillet on there. I'm going to do 0.8, I think. Yep, happy with that, I think. Yep. Then we... Okay, so gonna go pipe, turn off the chain selection, these found here. Obviously that's way too big, and we'll come down to 0.3, bit join. And what that's doing is it's clashing on the end here of this. So you could reduce the width of this, which I think I might do in a second. But before we do that pipe, let's go back and do that. So come back into the sketch here. Increase that width to 0.3. We might have to come back and make some alterations here. Nope, looks okay. Okay, so go back to doing that pipe. Do that. Again, pipe, chain selection off. That. Change the second size to 0.3. Don't think that's clashing anywhere. Take a join. Might just be touching on side here, so again we can come back and alter that. We're just increasing this to 0.35. this is where I thought we'd have an issue here. That's because this is now too small, so we can do that. Edit that there. I'm going to remove 0.75. So we're taking off 0.2 we've added on to the width here. That fixes all that lot back up again. Okay, so we've got that drawn here. Let's mirror that. So we can mirror that pipe using the mid plane, which was plane 3. Good, that. And thinking the height here was 5.5. So if I create an offset plane now from the base here up 5.5, I can then draw on that, projecting on the pipe here. We get the end faces and sides, and then I can draw a arc. Let's just draw a line first of all, there, and one there, and arc, and I think center point arc, find the midpoint there, midpoint, no, that's not what I want, midpoint arc, to there, there we go, bring that up. Distance from there, so the radius. Nope, that's not going to work. Let's undo that. Maybe it's the tangent. That would work better. So if I draw a line back there from the midpoint and a line back there from the midpoint, the tangent arc should work better. Get there in the end. There we go. And then we can finish that sketch and pipe that. 0.3 my section size is working fine. And if I open up sketch 14, we can then pipe there and then mirror that pipe on the mid plane, which we select down below. Okay, so we've got that all sorted. A little bit long-winded, I know it's a bit messy, but we've got there in the end. Okay, so that's the protected cage around the back of the signal form. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is put the telephone in and then the signal identification post marker here. So we'll create a sketch on the front face of the base for the phone, and we'll do a line coming up, which is going to be my midpoint. And the phone's at this height here in this box. We'll create a center point rectangle, which I can snap the center point to the line. I'm going to go for 1.3 wide, 2.75. That's my height. Define the midpoint to the base. That's 8.3. I think maybe that's a little bit tall as well, so I'm going to go change that to 2.6. Yeah, 2.6 there. Select and then extrude. let's just do an extrude this back into the post, 1.5, touch join. And then the plate is a little bit higher and it's offset in, so we create an offset plane from the base, come back minus 1.3. It's good to me. Create a sketch on that front face there and project on the base as well. And then I can create my midpoint for that one as well. Draw on the line up and create center point circle, sorry, center point rectangle. I'm thinking maybe 2.2, sorry, 2 millimeters by 2 millimeters square. Define the height from the base, 13.8. Select the face, extrude. Back in, let's wait to minus 0.3. Let's go 0.2, tell it to join. So we're coming back in 0.2 just to give us the plate itself. Turn them off, we can see it. Okay, so that's a basic signal, and I've done that. It's pretty much matched this one, except the tapered edges at the top corner. I'm going to save this before I go any further, because this is pretty much one that I'm going to need, and then we can continue on and save it as something else a little bit later with the route indicator on the top. Okay, so what I've done is I've just done File, Save As, and I've saved one as P148, which is the signal that I'm doing here with all the feathers on the top, and then another is P129. It's the same signal as just save as, and we can work between the two. P129 is pretty much complete for me, and I'm going to work on this one now to add the feathers and things on. Okay, now we're doing P148 signal. We're going to start by doing this Callon indicator here, and you can see how this is obviously set forward from the base. I'm going to create an offset plane, and we're going to do it from the front face again. I'm going to drag that plane forwards. Do this actually sticking up here a bit more. I think 1.5. Going to put that roughly in the right place there, looking at that. We can come back and look at that and move it slightly if we need to in a second. Okay, so we'll create a sketch on that front face. Let's just check how wide it is on here. Yeah, it's pretty much just the width of the signal itself. So do a rectangle, and I'm just going to go in that area there. I'm going to make sure I'm going to center it. So to do that, I'm going to project on that edge and that edge there, with the ladder there. So I can just define the distance there. That's 0.2 on each side. Thickness, I'm going to go for 0.5. And the height, I'm going to need to project on the base again to be able to define the height from the bottom edge to the base there. So we're at 15.9. That looks like it works for me. Okay, so let's have a quick look at the picture here. So in that drawing, as I say, it's Callon Signal. We'll start by using a line. Okay. I don't think this diagram is particularly great because this looks like it comes pretty much up and then curves over. So let's go vertical to the correct height. Going to come across. Move that a bit more. Okay, so let's define that height there. Let's go 0.1, so distance there, 0.1. Distance there, 0.1 as well. Okay, height. I'm going to define from that face to the base is 2.3, and I'm going to round off this top edge by, I'm going to do 0.9. Then going to do the same. I'm going to fillet these two. I don't want to do that yet. That's for some reason come across too far. It's just making it look, yeah, it's just that making it look weird. Let's define the length there. Do 0.1. No. 0.2. Define the height here on this one. 0.9. Fillet that off. So again, that's 1.35 there. And then the last fillet, this one here, is probably going to be a bit of a pain because it will want to go beyond it. I'm going to do 0.45. And if I select these three parts of the profile, I can extrude that. I haven't even extruded this part yet. Let's rotate that round. Extrude that back. So that's 0.8. New body will work there. Let's get that sketch back on. It's me running ahead of myself here. Let's select that. Do two-sided extrusion. I'm just going to come forward slightly, so 0.2 at the front. I'm going to drag that back in to join onto the lamppost. Then to join. And we'll go with that. Okay, so now we've got to draw the two lamps on. Rotate round, get a sketch on this front face. I'm going to use just circles. Okay, we'll start with the top one. I don't know why it's snapping to that point now. I don't know what it's seeing. Ah, a bigger curve here at the top. I'll go for that there. Let's go 0.75. And we can define the height from the base there. 1.85 works for me. And midpoint to the edge. 1 millimeter. Perfect. Let's draw a line from there. Snap that midpoint. I want to be parallel to this line here. Turn that line into a construction line. And then put a circle on there. Knowing again that we're doing 0.75 as our diameter. Let's move that to where I've got it in a position I'm happy with. About that point there. And then we can do define distance. distances on that line is 1.35. That'll work for me. Select those two circles and extrude forwards. It's going to become 0.1. If we look at the picture, you can see what I'm doing is it's got like a smaller one on the inside of the lamp. So create a circle on the inside, offset that. Do minus 0.1 as well. And extrude that. From 0.2, so it sticks out a bit more. Do the same. This time, rather than doing an offset, I'm just going to draw 0.55, which we know is going to be the same diameter. And extrude that again, 0.2. So that's our Callon signal drawn. Okay, so now we've got that drawn, and I'm happy with that. What I'm going to draw next, or what I'm going to do next, is move this front drawing down so that the route indicator is at the correct height to the top of the signal. So if we just do edit canvas, we can just drag this down to the correct position. I'm just going to confirm for this one. Yep, that's going to look okay, and maybe we want to come down a little bit more. Yep, so come down by minus 2.1. So obviously I've done that after I've done everything else, so that everything else is at the correct height for where it should be. Okay, so let's get this route indicator drawn. So I'm going to create a sketch on the front face of the signal plate here. I'm going to find a line tool, find the midpoint. I'm going to drag that midpoint up to the correct height, up above the correct height of the indicator. I'm going to use that line as a construction line. Okay, so I'm going to draw a line across now to that construction line at the correct height. Define the height. So we're at 6.75. Okay, that's going to be curved around that top, so we will have to do that change a little bit. So I'm going to drag this out to the width of the indicator there. Okay, I'm then going to draw a line up from the edge here to where this angle is here. So I'm going to go 1.2 millimeters. And this is going to be very much approximated now because this signal is a little bit unique in its design. Okay, so we've drawn that. That's snapped into the same width of this one. And we can draw that line up there to join that in. And then a line from there down to that, which then closes all that lot into one position. Let's just define that. 3.06, go with that. In fact, I'm going to make that bit slightly bigger, so 3.1. There we go, 3.1. Okay, so looking at this, we've got a small fillet on the bottom corner. So I'm going to go with that 1 millimeter radius, and then on the top corner, it's a much larger fillet. I'm going to go, let's have a look at that. I'm going to go for 2 millimeters on that top edge. Okay, so if we extrude that back to the same width or thickness as the rest of the signal post. fact, I'll just come back into there a second. Do mirror. Mirror all of these lines. And the mirror line would be that construction line. There we go, finish that. Take the each and pick up that one as well. So we've now got both halves of the route indicator selected. Okay, so now to draw the feathers on. So let's draw a sketch on the front face. Again, we'll draw a midpoint line and turn that into a construction line to work from. So, as you can see on this diagram, this has got 5 lights per indicator. This one's only got 3. So what I'm going to do is just miss out every other one and put them all in the correct position relative to each other. So I'm going to draw a line now, picking up that construction line at about the right position and coming across angle wise. So if we define that angle, so it's 45 degrees, we can turn that into a construction line as well. So first thing is, let's get the bottom lamp on, and I'm going to go 0.8 as my diameter. Extrude that out. 0.2. And I'm just going to fill it. I'm not going to worry too much about doing a variable fillet. Constant. 0.2. That gives me that lamp. Turn that sketch back on. And then I can pattern, rectangular pattern, and select the initial extrusion and the fillet, and the direction being that line. Need 3 of them. So I'm going to go for about 4.7, I think, 4.7 millimeters. Okay, so now as we've done that, we can see that works absolutely fine. What we can do is go back into this original sketch here and just draw some more construction lines. I'm going to do one that comes out this direction, and I'm going to, don't worry about the length too much. Turn that into a construction line. Do the same, go in the other direction. And then I want one coming up here. And the angle on that, again, making sure that's 45 degrees. Okay, finish the sketch. The sketch is still turned on, so we can still edit this. We can do rectangular pattern. In fact, what we could do, before we do that one, no, let's do this actually. Rectangular pattern, and we'll select the extrusion and the fillet, the direction coming across, we need 3 of them. Now unfortunately, because we don't have where the indicator would be on the horizontal position, I'm going to go 4 millimeters. What did we come up by actually? 4.7, that's not going to work, doing 4.7. No, I'm going to go with 4 millimeters there. Okay, and then we can do mirror, select all of these 4, and then the mirror plane, number 3 is it? This one down here. Mirror plane 3, and that puts them across. Ooh, wait a minute, why is that offset? something's not right there. This isn't right here. We've got an issue with this. Let's have a look. This, that's mirrored across the mirror plane. This isn't the mirror plane. Midpoint. Let's look at fixing this then. So that's that extrusion there. Must be that sketch there. Okay, let's have a look at this. Let's define there to that corner. Vertically horizontal constraint that to the same to that. The face of the signal. It's not working here. I'm pretty sure it must be in here somewhere. Let's inspect, measure that. Midpoint is 2 millimeters. That midpoint is 2 millimeters. That's working fine. So why is this pipe here? Because it's on an offset plane, that's what it is. No, that should still work. Okay, so looking at fixing this then, I'm not entirely sure what's caused it to go a bit haywire. What I've done is I've added a new mirror plane that's in the middle of this because I can't see why this isn't working correctly. And then I've just edited the mirrors off of the bottom plane to this mid plane that's in the top here, and that seems to move everything across. But I don't know why, because this is in the middle. Everything coming up the post is in the middle. Just for some reason, the offset on these pipes has gone a bit weird. So not a massive issue there, but a bit of a pain more than anything else. Okay, so we've got this one here. We can mirror then all of this lot. We're going to mirror that across that new offset plane I've created that's in the middle, and that's fixed those into correct positions there. Okay, so that's the lamps all drawn. Now, as we can see on the actual real one, they've all got shields over the top, so we can copy that as well. Okay, so to create the shields, use a similar process we did for the bottom one. Create a sketch on the front face, and we'll do the offset tool from the outside of the circle, which go 0.05, and then we'll do another offset from that circle again, 0.2. And then draw a line across in both directions to split that top half off and extrude that. Okay, so if we turn on the canvas again, we've got to come out to the same length as the previous ones we've done. It's 2.2, I think. Join that in, and looking at the side on, these have got a much more pronounced taper on them. So similar process as before. We draw a sketch on the side profile here, and this one's more just a line that comes diagonally down like that. So we project on these two faces, then we just draw a line that will come down like that. So just define the height there, so 0.1 from that, and from there to that point, 1.9. Okay, we've now got that triangular piece. We can extrude that across in a cut. And then we've got that shield there. Okay, and then we can do the patterns. So we need to have this sketch back on, which was sketch 23. Pattern using those features, direction. So 4.7 for that one. And pattern, same features. Directly this way. So horizontally that way. So 4 millimeters. And then we can use. Don't want to use the hole. Use the mirror tool again. Select those. Mirror plane. Be that new plane 7 that I've just created. Where's that plane gone? No, it's not plane 7 is out of order, that's plane 8. So new plane created there. So we've now got them across the top and in correct position. So that will back off. And turn off that canvas there. Okay. I know on the real thing there's a bit more of a weird shape going on in the top here, but I'm not overly concerned about that. You know, this is end gauge, it's not going to be particularly big. I'm pretty happy with that. Let's spin this round. I'm actually wondering whether these are a little bit short compared to photos. I think they might be. You know? I think these look quite long. There you go, that gives you a good idea of how to go about creating those indicators yourself. It's quite a long video we've done so far. I hope you enjoyed that. You've been able to continue on copying that yourself. If you have, please hit the like and subscribe button. If you've got any comments, please feel free to leave those comments. Thanks for watching.